Hello, hello. My name is Ashley Escobar, and I am the creator and founder of Angelic Love and Light. I am known as the Love and Light Activator, an intuitive guidance coach. And before I say anything more, I just want to say a few things. First of all, I'm rather new to filming, and I will be using my notes off the computer to keep everything straight and in order in my head. This is a 24-minute video. I did my podcast on it. That's how I know. I am going to try to speed up, but I want it to be enjoyable, so I don't want it to sound too rushed. So it is a rather long video, and this is probably one of the longer videos that I will do. But I appreciate you tuning in. And this is going on my channel, YouTube channel for my podcast, The Wake Up. So back to business. Today on my podcast, The Wake Up, I am speaking on my beliefs of an important topic within current times. The title of today's podcast is Masking the Truth, Knowledge, and Essential Information on the Mask of COVID-19. While the pandemic has been masking information that has been happening behind the scenes for decades, today I want to speak directly in reference to the mask that seems as if it's some new norm of our everyday dress. While a new phenomenon is starting to make it seem as if this is a new fashion trend, there is much more you should all know about the mask and be aware of. I am openly speaking on my factual information that I hope to share some insight with all of you. If someone takes away just one thing within my message, I have served my purpose and my intention. Yesterday, with the humidity at an all-time high and the conversations here in New York starting about the plans and possibilities of what school will look like in the fall, really triggered my desire to touch on this topic today. I also am a nurse, and as many nurses know, our second job is one of a teacher, educating our patients, educating crucial information that is not understood or aware of within others. So I feel passionate to speak on my personal thoughts of the mask of COVID. My belief is that COVID-19 is a part of a much bigger plan that affects many daily aspects and touches on many viewpoints. The mask was a part of the initial virus and the fear the virus produced for some. It was the start of the silencing of us all, with the hope to unawaken the mass group who has started to realize the Great Awakening is happening now, and it's so exciting. See, the abrupt stop and startle of many individuals' everyday conditioned routines and systems were shaken. The government forcing us to be within quarantines, locked in, the feeling of being incarcerated in our free, open land, borrowed by the Creator himself, sent many people exploring internally in many other ways, spiritually, mentally, politically, reviewing the shadow not only of themselves, but the world's shadow work. I believe throughout COVID there have been and are many different strategies of the corrupt elite of COVID, such as the initial spread of fear and panic, hoarding, fear of going out in public, impacting our social communication, and prepping the sheep of the world for the robotic society they are attempting to turn the world into. Strategies such as conquer and divide through a national reaction event such as the awful death of George Floyd, rest his sweet soul, reminding us all of topics such as inequality and racism and injustice, reoccurring generational wounds that run deep throughout history's veins that have happened for centuries. The programming of the corrupt elite, aka the news, talking about protesting and encouraging the possibility of rioting and looting, to expose hidden agendas from planned inside corrupt groups, police and higher authority leaders justifying why force has to be used, and after they've encouraged it themselves through the media. People aren't aware enough or may not have been exposed not to give in and give the reaction seek behind dark tactics of the politicians and corrupt leaders of the world. The mask, a barrier that silences us, not giving us a voice, decreasing our social interaction, The deep symbolism behind the actual mask, it shows the abuse of power and control. Or better yet, it's a barrier in between our First Amendment, the freedom of speech. Yet, of course, the first face value reason is it's for our safety, but as a nurse, I am aware that that is not completely the case. And spiritually, I'm awakened to the illusions within the government as the veil starts to lift for many. I am just sharing simple, basic, factual information, and the mask itself is just unsafe. I want to start with the history of the mask, okay? And how it originally started off as it originally started off to serve and protect patients from wound infection and contamination from surgeons. It was later adopted as a piece of PPE, also known as personal protective equipment. The material of surgical masks does not, as many of you have been told and heard and are aware, does not stop or prevent the spread of airborne droplets the virus is made up of. The general sanitization is not meant for how we are using these masks, and meaning the surgical mask comes into contact with other sources, such as a purse or your car or other sources. It's contaminating the mask with other germs, exposing people to other germs, breathing in those germs. They aren't meant to be reused or touching the surface of anything else after the initial use. Masks are meant clinically for a 4 to 5 hour period in a much more sterile or cleaner environment, such as the ORs, doctor's office, nursing homes. The 3 layers of the mask, first being the outer layer, repels water, blood, and body fluids. The middle filters certain pathogens or germs, and then that inner layer, the thin material, absorbs moisture and sweat from exhaled air and carbon monoxide. There isn't a tight seal, as we all know, and of course people are going to counteract and say, well, then go get an N95 mask. Well, I'm not speaking on the N95 mask and how that within itself has its own issues. That's another video that I will not be doing. The virus, COVID, is made up of larger airborne droplets, and the CDC has failed to show prevention to exposure of infectious diseases in community and public settings, although they didn't stop to educate the people on the other side of information on how masks may really be harmful and letting people be aware of all the situations. COVID actually lasts 7 days on a mask. And some people are reusing masks forever, and you can't constantly wash your cloth mask either in between usage. I get it, it lessens the chances, but I am a firm believer of proper hand washing. I'm aware of proper coughing techniques and spacing and controlling myself within and throughout this time that I will not be wearing a mask. Fortunately, I am not immunocompromised, meaning people of all ages are at an increased risk for contracting the virus, such as anyone with upper respiratory illnesses, diseases, and conditions. I take care of patients who can't physically handle if their bodies were to get this disease, the virus, So please, for not 1 second am I not saying that COVID is not serious. I am aware for many it is a very serious condition, but I also know that the leaders and media have heightened this much more, and the fear is in the initial emotion responsible for the unawareness from not experiencing these same events or not having any previous knowledge of an experience. So I can empathize completely as an empath and realize how this may be very scary for some. Let's go back to the health effects, though, and how the mask and talk about the release of carbon monoxide from our bodies. When we're breathing and how we're expelling, that becomes blocked. And whenever the body is expelling anything that is meant to get rid of, it's doing it for a purpose, right? So not expelling carbon monoxide is very harmful, especially for people wearing masks. And additionally, having comorbidities such as asthma, COPD, pneumonia, acute and chronic bronchitis, emphysema, cystic fibrosis are just few of the many upper respiratory conditions impacted by wearing a mask. I didn't hear anything of my people that watch the news. I don't watch the news. For those of you that don't know, the news has been off. I don't watch much TV at all either. But the news definitely for sure has not been on. For people with those upper respiratory issues, it may feel as they are suffocating. I know for people like myself, my nose was broken and I don't breathe the same, which already counteracts towards my generalized anxiety. See, when we breathe, we deliver oxygen to the brain. And anxiety is increased when we have lack of oxygen to the brain. So for someone like myself who has impaired breathing, which impacts my anxiety, a mask on top of that is very overwhelming. And that's when yesterday at the grocery store in the heat, in the humidity that we had, I said, enough is enough. I have to speak on this. I imagine the people, the elderly, the obese, the children with upper respiratory conditions, and my heart just felt for them yesterday. I'm like, there's always somebody who has it better than you, of course, somebody worse than you, better than you, but I focus on the people who have it worse than me. And I just thought of all those people, and I was like, oh my God, I can't even imagine, like, if this is how it is for me, imagine for them. So these leaders and politicians we often see not even wearing masks themselves have people that go out and do their grocery shopping in 90-degree weather. They don't even have to worry about the situation of putting on a mask to go into a store to get your food that is essential that you need. So they don't even stop to place themselves in the shoes of the people they so-called serve and lead. For those with upper respiratory illnesses, it's way harder to breathe. That's just a fact. Damage to the lungs is shown for long exposure of wearing masks, and they're just not meant for long exposures the way they're forcing some people during COVID, and it's not meant to alter our breathing, and that has long-term effects, short-term and long-term potentially. An N95 mask, for some people who like statistics, an N95 mask reduces oxygen intake 5 to 20%. This amount, right, a decrease of oxygen intake is a significant loss for a healthy person, let alone somebody impacted greater. So mask exposure that some are having to wear causes dizziness, lightheadedness, increased anxiety, and can increase depression. If you are pregnant, you should absolutely not be wearing an N95 mask. And I know a lot of girls in the healthcare field probably are pregnant at this time, and I'm like, oh my God, what are they doing? Are they being safe? Are they aware? And hence the reason for the knowledge and education behind the videos, not to rant or add to a collective of negative energy, but to educate with a humble, loving intention. So carbon monoxide poisoning can occur over time. In that carbon monoxide poisoning, it decreases our body's pH, and it results in an acidosis state, which is very harmful for the body. Poisoning can happen quicker for those with upper respiratory conditions. Headaches, weakness, dizziness, nausea and vomiting, shortness of breath, confusion are all signs and symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning. But those symptoms are symptoms not only of COVID, but many other things that people may not think, oh, I have carbon monoxide poisoning, let me just, and then boom, you're very, very ill. Or you're in the hospital and now you're closer to COVID and exposure, as of course numbers are very, very low right now. Things are dwindling down, but you get the point. I think in result to long-term mask exposure, this will lead to an increase of upper respiratory issues, diseases, and people coming down with new conditions in the future due to long-term mask exposure. And that's just, common sense. I am good at thinking of solutions and thinking proactively as a nurse, so I am calling you to take action. And you ask me preventative action, which true medicine should encourage, in my opinion. So you ask, what can I do? Well, if we're doing damage to our lungs, we need to do lung therapy. What does that include for just everyday people that don't have usually any upper respiratory lung issues? So we can use steam therapy, such as saunas, jacuzzis, humidifiers, steam vaporizers. Just open up those lungs and allow all that beautiful to get in. Controlled coughing techniques such as the controlled elbow cough. Those are things that you can preventively do to just be safe in general. Holistic supplements that suppress and drain that mucus out, such as NAC and CMOS. I just want to say that mucus, not to get off topic, mucus is, if you look at many diseases and illnesses, mucus is like the underlying factor, and it's deadly. So holistic supplements that can help with draining mucus, NAC. All right. My girl Vicki Cornish found this. It's wonderful. I gave it to somebody that had COVID, and I treated. She had upper respiratory illnesses, more than 2, and helped her greatly. Okay. Also, CMOS, great for suppression of the mucus. Exercise, that's just, everybody knows the body needs movement, the lungs need. If you sit for long periods of time, or you stayed long periods of time in the bed, the elderly especially, children, people with these upper respiratory conditions, that's just horrible. Get out and move. Something is better than nothing. I'm trying to get a little bit set up to get on the other topics. Green tea, anti-inflammatories. Anything I co-sign personally is holistic. Even as a nurse, I don't believe in harmful medications. And so turmeric is a great anti-inflammatory, along with many other natural supplements, and I'll let you do your own research. Chest percussion, that's just simply, literally, and I'm so glad I can show you this, because we do it all the time, I'm sure, but on my podcast, I had to describe it, like, in detail, because they couldn't see me. So literally, like, people with upper respiratory illnesses or trachs or such things, they know of chest percussion and cupping techniques, right? So it's literally just like making a fist and doing that, and like, right? And you can have somebody do that on your back and reach all the quadrants of the lungs, and anterior and posteriorly in all 4 quadrants of the lungs. And so next I want to talk about how the mask affects our communication and how communication is impacted. Many are talking and interacting less out in public. We're trading freedom of speech for exposure of full mask. The lower half of the face is known psychologically as the emotion of happiness, hence the smile of the mouth. Now, the upper portion is more known for the emotions such as anger and fear. So coincidentally, which I don't believe anything is a coincidence in life, the government wants to mask us, adding to the collective fear and anger behind the pandemic. We are left with new misunderstandings between each other because we're masked, and there's even more misinterpretations. And imagine for people that are hard of hearing and may be able to read lips, how they're affected. They use that every day, some people. What about the kiddos or adults with autism and the attempt of putting a mask on them, what that does to them, or being around others that have masks on and how that feels? Often so many people don't think of others in other situations. So it's classic of the government, in my opinion, not to think of the best interest for the people, and that the mask has been symbolically for years, since its existence, known as a disguise, concealment, a hiding of identity. So the government is right that the mask is needed, but the individuals who are wearing them are wrong. Our politicians and corrupt low vibrational leaders and people within position of higher power should be masking themselves for the corrupt, false, fake facades they wear. Many are seeing it. It takes events in history like this, as many have already happened. Each time, little by little, more people start to awaken within the illusion around themselves. Articles that I've been reading, and this really bothered me too, and not a lot bothers me at this level, articles of such new seasonal fashion trends and media and celebrities promoting as it's known to be influential are influencing this as it's some kind of fashion trend, right? Seasonal fashion trend for the future. And this is not cute. I am an influencer of positivity, and I'm here to say that no, that's not cute to try to brainwash the world in how it already does through celebrities, media, Hollywood, and make them think that, oh, now we're going to have to wear masks every spring. That's not cute. It's not. It's not a fashion statement. This isn't about fashion, people. And I love fashion, just for the record. So it's as if Bill Gates and all the other corrupt want to mimic China and countries like Asia. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Mother Gaia, Earth, okay? Our planet Earth, I love those countries, but they have corrupt ways within their systems, too. See, China wears often year-round masks. I bet you didn't know that. Random fact, I like those. Due to their fog pollution prior to COVID. During COVID, the Doppler reports actually showed phenomenal decrease of overall fog and haze from humidity. I am sure with the population and traffic, it has slowly increased again, but that is China and we are America. The land or the home of the free. Why would we be taking on non-beneficial ways, following in the footsteps of what's not in the best interest for the collective? How about China stop so much smoking? Everybody smokes over there, contributing to so much pollution. And the traffic, why don't you guys start walking all over? Sidetrack. So speaking of the humidity and yesterday's shopping trip that reminded me I wanted to voice my opinion, led me to explore and research in the area that I already knew existed, but I wanted to explore further. So see, part of this whole pandemic has launched the latest and greatest 5G technology that also has positive and negative and beneficial and not effects in all of this. Everything has energy and is energy, and that's just a fact. And everything has a frequency, and that is a fact. So the radiation that this 5G technology gives off and the frequency has been proven to interfere with oxygen absorption, leading to down the line within all the 5G technology and how much people are on their technology and the stuff that we can't see to the literal eye, so people forget, and how that plays a part of our health and how we deteriorate. That is going to lead to many clinical issues later on down the line that we do not currently see as bad, if not at all, in my opinion, my medical opinion. So let's see. The 5G affects mass, coincidentally, again, not signals emitting to weather models and satellites, affecting the humidity levels and the truth behind the meteorologists. Of course, we can all joke that they're never right anyways. The weathermen are not right at all. But the increase in the inadequate reports and predictions are going to increase. And how may this affect us as a whole within global warming and environmentally? Think of the future, people. You know, like, people are panicking about the now. Like, I'm pretty sure you're all going to live at least 10 more years. Why don't you panic about your 10-year self? So think, explore, like, educate yourself on factual sources other than the news. The news is just like, believing everything they say. So lastly, and this is what really revved up my conviction within the topic, and that's the mama bear in me. Schools here in New York are starting to prepare to open again, and although it's not a requirement as of now, it's only an option. We can see how the changes within the school system will affect the children, let alone the masking of children who do wear the mask. Socially, developmentally, psychological impact, lack of communication. I mean, can you imagine? And now this is where I stop reading the notes and we interact. Can you imagine sending your child and being a child and put yourself back in school, in middle school, in elementary school, in high school, interacting with somebody who's masked, and you may or may not be masked, and then walking through your halls in a certain order with not as many people. Think of the situations that may arise per state within the differences here in the United States. What kind of experience is that? What psychological damage does that do? Developmentally, what does that do? It's like they're training little miniature robots. Now, for the children just entering kindergarten, how scary. You're scared to start school, right, let alone have these masks on of these big adult people that they don't know, right, and are supposed to just trust now? What kind of messages are we sending to these children? But they're going to be forced into this norm within all of this, and God forbid what it could turn into. That's all I'm going to get to on the school side of it. And no, I will not be partaking in that with my child. So this is something that I've been thinking of the past few years anyways. And before I wrap this up, I did just want to actually kind of bring my little one on and ask her from a 9-year-old perspective. And I'm going to give you guys, since I'm on my headphones, I'm going to, Angelina, baby, come here. I'm going to let you know what she says, okay? So now, if you were to go back to school, baby, in the fall, and your classmates, I wouldn't make you wear a mask for 8 hours, you know that, right? But your classmates have a mask on. How would you feel about just overall your whole experience being like that and potentially having to, like, walk the halls in one direction? Hold on. She said she wouldn't like it because you don't truly have the interaction, the true interaction within the school experience. And she says it's really hard to adjust to new things like that are so different than the norm, and she knows that it shouldn't be going on. So, and imagine school bus trips, right? Because of people having to be 6 feet away. Imagine somebody not being able to sit next to you, but like sits behind you. So it's just like boom, 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 boom. Do you think you would have as much fun during the school day and enjoy school? You heard it from the little one herself. All right, baby, thank you so much. All right, so as I want to remind you, I am a balanced individual that has a positive mindset throughout every day for the past few years. So keep in mind, I see the positive and the negative. I am aware of the potential advancements in areas of positivity that COVID may lead to. When educating on the facts, it may include the darker side of information or the lower negativity within the topic. So I want my audience to be aware of all the information so you can make the most logical, best decisions for yourself and your families. I know what's best for me and mine, and I just want to put the information out there. So for now, I just ask that people try to be kind and spread love and light and take action from your thoughts, words from your mouth, and actions to others throughout the day from love, and continue to be authentically you. Do not live from the egotistical side, and heal the things that you need to deal with so that you can become the best you. That's what I feel like we're here to do on Earth anyways. Remember to breathe properly and know that we, the people, need not to be masked. We need everyone to start with themselves and help raise to the vibrations of the collective in a positive, impactful way. We need all parties to work together in a manner that will be helpful and insightful moving forward. I believe that there is much light on the other side of all of this, and we need to bring back Christ-like behavior and actions. First and foremost, peaceful protesting and voicing needs to continue, and we need educating of the people. We need a collaborative, effective, positive communication. We need every state to show up when it comes to time to vote locally and nationally, because we, the people, put these individuals into office. And then, many people have the aspect, the mindset that, I won't make a difference. Well, think of how many people think like that and then add that up. Now, we saw how everyone came together, all 50 states came to protest against the death, and that's what people need to do. They need to stand up as a country and be heard to stop and eliminate the old paradigms of time. We need the leaders who temporarily lead the country to act more authentic and Christ-like. And remember, the Creator himself is the only one in charge. The truth will always surface. Someone very close to me told me once that the skeletons will always come out of the closet. And boy, is that true indeed on so many levels. So for now, lots of love and light. And don't forget to LOL. Laughter is medicine. Have a blessed one. This is Ashley Escobar, the Love and Light Activator with Angelic Love and Light.